preparing to make some buffers that we use to adjust pH. I need to do a raising buffer and a lowering buffer. So pretty simple. Citric acid. Okay, citric acid. And here it's some sodium hydroxide. So this is a bit dangerous, so you shouldn't touch it. It's gonna burn your skin. Okay, so we're gonna start with the lowering buffer, which we use citric acid, and it's a 50-50 dilution with distilled water. Okay, so I'm going to make a 200-gram batch, which means that I will add 100 gram of citric acid and 100 gram of distilled water. Okay, so let's start. All the equipment that I'm using has been sanitized, so there's no need for me to sanitize again. I'll just sanitize my spatula because I have not cleaned that. Okay, so I bought this little scale from Temu. It works very, very well, and it weighs up to 1 kg. So I really love it, and it's compact, especially when I'm a bit in a hurry. Okay, so what do I need these buffers for? We need the buffers to adjust pH in our products that we make. So certain products or ingredients have got a specific a pH that you need to adjust it to for it to work, whereas ingredients like your preservatives, your active ingredients, and then also looking at the pH of the skin. So if your product is not compatible to all those things that I've just mentioned, you're going to have a product that doesn't work. So it's very important that after making the products, you really check what is the pH of the product and adjust it accordingly. I'll do a video one day in depth just explaining the pH. Now I'm using distilled water, same 100 gram. Remember I said I'm doing a 50-50 batch. Okay, so I just need to get to 100. There we go. Okay, so I always make my dilution buffers on a Sunday to use until the next weekend. So this will take a little bit of time because it has a 50-50 dilution to dissolve. But you need to mix it until it has dissolved. So today I was washing the bottles that I use for my buffers. So you see it says R here. It tells me that this is the raising buffer. The other one broke when I was washing it. So, you know, some of those things that goes with working with bottles. So I have a bigger one, which is a 500 ml. So I won't really need the big one. So I'll purchase another amber one during the week so that I can replace it with a 250 ml. So this is where I store my buffer solutions. Okay, so quickly, it's cold. This is the nice part about citric acid. So when it's reacting, it gives out a cold, I don't know, whatever. And I know that this would be citric acid. But if I'm using sodium hydroxide, the opposite happens. It goes hot. So yeah, let's go to the next one while this one dissolves. So now I'm going to do a raising buffer, which I use sodium hydroxide. Okay, I use the pellets. I don't use the flakes. They dissolve quicker. And when you are using it, you need to be wearing gloves. So here are my gloves. It stings a bit. Okay, so it's not wise that you should get it in contact with your skin. If it does, just quickly go and rinse it off so that you don't get the burn. The itch is a bit uncomfortable, so I always try and make and wear my gloves. Okay, so I'm ready. Just need another spoon. Okay, so here we're going to do a 10% to 90 dilution. Okay, so this gives us a 10% sodium hydroxide. The other one gave us a 50% citric acid. So I'm also going to do a 200 gram, and in 200 gram it means I'm going to weigh 20 grams of the sodium hydroxide, and then I'm going to weigh 180 of the distilled water, which makes up 200 grams. So how do I do that? I would say 200 times 10%, it gives me 20. All right, so I'm going to weigh 20 grams. Okay, actually I shouldn't be doing it this way, it's the wrong way. Okay, it's good I remembered. With sodium hydroxide, you always start with distilled water. Okay, so you will pour your distilled water first, and then pour your sodium hydroxide into the water, not the other way that I almost did. So it was good that I remembered that, because I was going to have to pour it back and start again. So I'm going to weigh 180 grams of distilled water in here, and then I am going to add the sodium hydroxide. Okay. Okay, got 180. Okay, then we can add our sodium hydroxide. We said 20 grams. Okay, so while I'm adding, I know a reaction is happening, and the touch of the skin, the water is going to feel hot because it emits heat. So this is also something that I use for my cold processed soaps. So I'm very comfortable using sodium hydroxide. So there we go. I can feel already it's warm. You can see it turned milky. I don't really pour it until it is cool, and when it starts to cool down, it goes clear. So this is our sodium hydroxide. As I told you, it feels hot. So between the two, one is the citric acid, which to the touch it feels cold, and then our sodium hydroxide, it feels warm, and it emits fumes. So don't breathe in those fumes. That's why you see I am mixing away from where I am. Now let's go back to our citric acid. You can see it's almost dissolved, just a little bit left. So I will not pour it into the bottle until I know that it has completely dissolved, so that I don't get to leave out any of this. So different people do this very differently. Normally people will keep it their buffers for a day and then make every single day. We don't do that. We use them after 7 days. So what I will then do is once I've prepped them, I'll pour them into the bottle. I will label them, and once labeled, then they go and sit in the shelves. So I use a lot of it because I make a lot of experiments here, and when I'm making experiment, I do check the pH. Even though some of the product we end up not we end up taking not giving them to anyone, where I'm just playing around to get to understand how the products or the ingredients behave. We do add it just to see the final texture would be. Sometimes when you do add a specific buffer, you will find that it kind of loosens the product and it becomes a little bit watery. So that is something that we need to note, so that when we do make the products, we understand what our challenges are going to be. So this one, sodium hydroxide, see it's very clear now, which means that it has completely dissolved. So I am going to use this bottle. Okay, I'm gonna spritz a little bit of distilled water. Okay, just rinse it off. Okay, I've got something that I pour in here. Okay, so there we go. I'll take my marker. and then I will write L. I know it's lowering buffer. Today is the 23rd 7 25. Okay, I don't need to make a lot. You use very little of the buffers when you're adjusting pH, so I don't have to. Oh, there's still a little bit of citric acid left there. Okay, there we go. It will dissolve in here. So my lowering buffer is ready. I don't really like putting it in a clear bottle, but it has to do for now. I will buy the bottle this week. Okay, then we've got our raisin buffer bottle. It's already written R, and I've already wiped out the date, so I'm gonna write today's date. Okay, this is just so that I get reminded when I made it, because my memory might not be helpful by the time I need to see where we are with this. Okay, so there we go. It is still hot. Okay, not very hot, it's just warm. I'm gonna pour it in here. Okay, there we go. And then I am going to leave it open. Now there's a little trick that I want to show you. So we've got our two buffers. Okay, what I do is I always have plastic pipettes, and what I do with these plastic pipettes, I put it inside, okay, and then I close, and then I close. So as you see, the pipettes are here. Whenever I want to use, I'm just reusing the same pipette. But once I make a new dilution, I throw away the old pipettes. Let me show you the old pipettes. These were the old pipettes that we're no longer going to use. I throw them away and use new pipettes. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to leave this one opened so that it can cool down. So I'll put it aside, and then this one is ready for me to go onto the shelf. So hopefully this is going to help you in terms of making your products. Remember, what are the buffer solutions for? They help in adjusting pH for all the products. By the way, you cannot adjust pH in a oil only product. The product has to have water for you to be able to check your pH. So don't get confused when you are making a body oil and then you want to try and test for pH. It doesn't work. It doesn't have a pH. Only ingredients that contains, or only products that contains water will then have the ability for you to check the pH. So remember, the reason why we adjust the pH is so that it's suitable for the active ingredients, and it's also suitable for the skin. Now, what do we mean by that? Active ingredients have got a specific pH range that it needs to be so that it works. The skin pH is around 4.5 to 5.5. Others say 4 to 5.5. I use 4.5 to 5.5. That's what I was taught at the school that I went to. So that's the range that I work with on the skin. Now, for a preservative that I use, like Liquid Gemal Plus, the range is between 3 and 8. So I love to use the Liquid Gemal Plus because it gives me a bigger range to work in. Then you've got different active ingredients with different pHs. So for instance, if you're going to use an alpha hydroxy acid, which is an HAA, or a beta hydroxy acid with a BHA, you are going to need to have a pH below 3.5 so that the product can work. So when you do buy these ingredients, please ask about the pH of the final product so that it can work. So let me give you an example. Liquid Gemal Plus, if you go above 8 and below 1, it's not going to work. It's not going to preserve your product, which means that by the time you use it a week, you'll start seeing mold and bacteria growing, which is not good. So hopefully you're going to start using this. I'm going to do another video where I am showing how to adjust pH for a specific product. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll be doing more of this now that I can do this. I don't have a lot of things to do on a Sunday. So well, ciao, bye bye.